Here's your host, Alex Garrett.
How safe are our city streets? Well, I've got minority leader of the city council, Joe Borelli, a longtime friend. Councilman Borelli, welcome back to my show.
Alex, thank you as always. Thank you, listeners, for having me.
Well, it is an important issue right now we're about to talk about. How safe is the city? It's maybe not as safe because now even EMTs need body armor. I mean, body armor for EMTs. Councilman Borelli, I never thought I'd see the day, but you are pushing for that, and you got a bill passed for them and for their safety here in New York City.
Yeah, well, so attacks on EMTs is up 45% in the last 5 years. And it's actually up like quadrupled, if not more than that, in the last decade. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you'd never hear of like attacks on EMTs. These are people who are usually regarded as like, the saving angels who come and, save you when you're in a car accident or whatever. But we saw a tragic murder of Yadira Arroyo in 2017 where an EDP, a disturbed person, took over her ambulance and basically ran her over with it intentionally. And then we saw last year, 2 years ago, the stabbing right in broad daylight of an EMT lieutenant right on duty who was just walking to get her lunch on her break, and someone came over to her and stabbed her. So the bill does two things. It guarantees a new high-standard body armor, meaning a bulletproof vest and stab-proof vest. In the past, some EMTs were issued, if they chose, hand-me-down body armor or different types. This would standardize what EMTs will get. And the second part of this is giving them training in both self-defense and de-escalation.
That's the next part. And here's the thing, self-defense for an EMT, they're normally there just to help someone out, literally help someone save their life. And are you getting the feeling, Councilman Borelli, that it's possible some of these calls are almost like the ambush calls on the cops? Is that happening also?
We haven't seen that yet, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. But we certainly see people who, look, you have an EMT who responds to a crime scene, let's say, right? They have to treat the good guys and the bad guys. And sometimes in the heat of things, you're not really sure, who each person is. On the flip side, we have people who we ask them to take care of who are, going through overdoses, hallucinations, all sorts of episodic things that trigger some sort of attack. And we've seen that many, many, many times. So, those are really the types of attacks we're trying to prevent. I hate to say it, but if someone wants to ambush an EMT, just like ambushing a cop, you'll probably be able to, unfortunately, just the way things are. But we want to give our EMTs the most possible protection that we can.
You said this has been on the books for a while, so tell us when this first started. Was it after the 2017 tragedy, or when did this first start?
Yeah, EMTs started receiving body armor as a thing maybe 3 or 4 years ago after the stabbing that took place. But they were just kind of body armor to triage the incident. We didn't really issue them as a policy until this bill was passed last week. And there was some talk that the mayor wouldn't sign the bill. It's kind of funny how that story came out. News broke. Mayor Adams may not sign the body armor bill for EMTs. I mean, this was such a non-controversial bill that passed, meaning the administration, the fire department, and the mayor's legislative staff were so supportive of it that it didn't even rise to the level of, briefing the mayor on, oh, my God, we have this bill coming down the pike. He actually, the first time he probably heard about it was when it passed.
All right, on a bigger scale here, Councilman Borelli, how is the relationship between City Council and Mayor Adams from where you sit, speaking of whether he's going to sign bills or not? Is that a worry every time you guys have a bill that you want passed? Is there a disconnect between City Council and the mayor, or what are you seeing?
Well, there's some personal animosity between the speaker and the mayor, which manifests itself in a little bit more aggressive oversight and perhaps lawsuits over housing vouchers. We've had that. So there is a confrontational posture between the mayor and council member. That said, I mean, my relationship with him is fairly good. We do collaborate on more things than people would think, which is nice. I mean, look, I would say that about Bill de Blasio. Unfortunately, when you need the mayor's help on a local issue in your district, you got to go to the guy, and Thankfully, Mayor de Blasio occasionally was very helpful. But things are, I think, a little better with Mayor Adams in terms of how he's treating, let's say, Staten Island, which is a good thing. And truth be told, if Mayor Adams loses an election next cycle, it'll most likely be in a primary, and I can assure you that New Yorkers would have a much more tough time swallowing, Mayor Brad Lander or Mayor Jumaane Williams than they ever will with Mayor Adams.
I don't even want to think about that, especially Lander. That's not good news for our city. Now, I got to ask you, because you are from Staten Island, obviously, what's going on over there that maybe my listeners aren't aware of, that people should be aware of right now with the migrant situation? Is everything kind of calmed down now over there?
Yeah, the big fight we're having is congestion pricing. I mean, this is a policy that's going to put more cars on Staten Island roads. It's going to put more pollution in Staten Island lungs, and they're going to charge us for the privilege of doing that. So it's just fundamentally unfair. I know there's been some conversations that the MTA had with New Jersey about, paying them off, basically. I actually hope old Phil Murphy doesn't cave and he keeps his lawsuit going, because we're certainly going to keep our lawsuit that we're doing in conjunction with the United Federation of Teachers. It's kind of funny, how politics make strange bedfellows.
Yeah.
Here you have all Staten Island Republicans on a lawsuit that we're being supported with plaintiffs and with financing from the United Federation of Teachers.
Now, is this your last term? Am I hearing that correctly?
Yep, I will be out. The only thing I can tell you for certain is I'll be out of office by January 1st of 2026. My term expires at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve. So I have a little bit of time left. I'll most likely serve out the balance of my term. You never know, right? I mean, you're always a good offer away from a good offer.
Right.
But I'll most likely serve out the balance of my term. And then we'll see what the future holds.
Well, I know you love radio, so maybe that's an avenue down the road. But while you're still there, what do you hope to accomplish that maybe people would want to know about?
I want to keep the moat between Staten Island and the rest of the city nice and fresh. And if possible, separate it by another 5 feet. I mean, I'm not just being facetious. Almost everything the city of New York does is just fundamentally bad for Staten Islanders. I mean, every decision that City Hall makes, being the council and the mayor, just continuously has bad impacts on Staten Island. So if I could just play defense for the next 18 months and work on some big picture issues, like one of the issues I'm working on is nonpartisan elections, which is pretty, people can criticize me for this because I'm fighting for it now on my way out when I'm not running for anything anymore. Maybe it would have made my re-election more difficult, but I'll take that criticism. But I think nonpartisan elections, and I hate to sound like our friend Frank Morano with all this, good government stuff, but nonpartisan elections, meaning the mayor and city council are elected in an open primary, meaning there's not a Democratic primary, just an open election, I think would save the city of New York. Of the top 15 largest cities in the country, it's only us and Philadelphia who have partisan elections at the municipal level. And I would argue that, Philadelphia is not a great model to look at either.
No,
there are some cities,
I am so for
especially
open primaries because I believe independents need a voice too, especially in the primary season.
Yeah, and look at like some of the larger cities in Texas where you have, moderate mayors. I mean, these are Democratic cities. You have more moderate Democrats who often wins. In the case of Fort Worth, like the 9th largest city, you have a Republican. It just builds a better mousetrap for the community, and it makes people in office be more accountable to the broader swath of the population in terms of who they have to show deference to.
When you say how different Staten Island is from New York City and the other boroughs, I automatically think how different the perspective is on law enforcement. Staten Island respects law enforcement more than Manhattan, Queens, and all the other boroughs combined, it feels like. So how has the tenor been with city council since the tragic killing of Officer, now Detective Diller? Is there more support for police in the council halls that you're seeing, Councilman?
No, they got right back up to and went back to trying to figure out ways how they could make the work of policing more difficult. There wasn't even a momentary pause in that respect. The only goal for them is making the job of police officer more difficult, meaning making the lives of criminals more easy. And that's all they care about. This is the impetus behind the defund the police. This is the impetus behind, close Rikers. It's everything we have to do in the city government is for the wrong people.
they don't even want Columbia University to have a safe campus right now. How crazy is that? They don't want the police to intervene in that. And I think that's insane. They should be able to intervene and get those people off that campus. That's another issue going on right now. And as much as the Trump trial, a lot of stuff going on in the city, and I'm sure you're following all of it, right?
Oh, of course. Look, if you're out there beating a drum saying you're Hamas, you're a terrible person. I was in Kfar Aza on the Gaza border about a month ago, and I saw what Hamas did to people who were, roughly the same age as some of these entitled Columbia students. And I'm not going to mince words when I say these people are pieces of garbage. And by the way, it ties into another issue. Like these are the people that Joe Biden wants us to empathize with when he talks about student debt. It's not like the kid who goes to state college for engineering or like some taxi driver, taking college classes at night. It's these entitled, liberal, elitists who spend the price of what a house costs in most states to get a degree in Middle Eastern basket weaving.
Yeah, it's not good. And, of course, Ilhan Omar's daughter is now suspended. It's just amazing how full circle that is. But you're right. A lot of these kids want it back, want their money back, and they probably were indoctrinated while they were getting their education, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I like to think it didn't happen to me, but you never know.
Well, and I know CUNY, and I was a graduate of CUNY. They've gone a little far to the left, too, and maybe, hopefully, this does not spread to the CUNY campus. Have you seen anything of that note spreading to CUNY campuses?
No, I mean, I teach at the College of Staten Island, and it's a very welcoming campus. And yes, we have some, students that empathize with Palestinians. Certainly, there's a large Jewish population in the College of Staten Island, but it really hasn't materialized into any sort of violence or just nastiness. We haven't seen that, thankfully.
Let's keep it that way, right? That's the prayer today. Let's keep it that way. And as far as, because I know you talk about all this stuff, so as far as the Trump thing, it's another reflection of Alvin Bragg when it comes to local politics, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is what the guy's prioritizing. I mean, this case is costing the taxpayers a tremendous amount of money. It's certainly not a cheap case to prosecute. It's something that just flies in the face of everything he's ever said about downplaying misdemeanors. Rather, it's felonies. I mean, he's someone who made a career on taking felonies and making them misdemeanors, but when it comes to the Orange Man, it's let's take misdemeanors and make them felonies.
Unbelievable. And, of course, he's deduced so many felonies and misdemeanors at the same time. It's all backwards, right, Councilman?
It's backwards, but this is the New York that the voters picked. The one thing I'll say about Alvin Bragg is that he didn't lie about who he was. He ran under the guise of being this progressive, woke prosecutor.
Well, Councilman, I hope to see you around the halls of 970 once again soon enough. We love having you on the radio, as you know.
Thank you, sir. I hope to be back soon.
And that was Councilman Joe Borelli, the minority leader of the city council, talking about, yes, EMTs needing body armor. And when the bill is signed, let me know. We'll talk about it. Maybe go to the press conference. That'd be great.
Sounds good. Take care, Alex.
Take care. Councilman Borelli on One Leg Up with Alex Garrett. Councilman, thank you so much.
Anytime, man. Have a great day.
You too. Hope to see you around for real. I haven't seen you in a minute.
It's been a while.
All right. Talk to you, sir. Be well. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.